Hi, I'm Purple Streak, and today I'm looking into the dark corners of Capcom's releases to find the worst Resident Evil games. I have a feeling it won't be too hard. Right, let's start with the reason I wanted to make this video. The mess that is Umbrella Corps. This game released with absolutely no fanfare. One day it didn't exist, and the next it was on the Steam store. And unfortunately for me, I had £24.99 burning a hole in my wallet that day, and I bought it. The good news is within an hour I got to test the Steam refund feature, because this game was, and is, an absolute dumpster fire of a game. This game had potential, an online first-person shooter pitting Umbrella elite soldiers against each other in recognisable locations across the Resi universe? Sign me up! Please let Project Resistance be good. And parts of this game are okay. The locations are great. I love duking it out in the village of Resi 4, and each map has enemies taken from their respective games. Just for nostalgia's sake it earns points for that. And the concept of having to balance fighting the enemy team and keeping zombies at bay is great. There's even a mechanic where you can stop the enemy team's zombie jammer, a device which stops all zombies from instantly mauling you, so you have to be careful of that too. But the controls are janky, the single player is almost non-existent, and no one plays online anymore. I bought this game a second time for 76p in a humble bundle, which resulted in a short-lived influx of players. But even then I was waiting 10 to 20 minutes at a time for a game, and it was literally 3 beginners versus 3 ultra pros. I didn't even get a chance to take in the map before we were slaughtered by Japanese players that had been playing since day one for whatever reason. I tried to find a game again just for this video, and sat in a lobby for about 20 minutes before giving up. Then looking at the Steam charts for this game, I can see why. In the last 11 minutes there were only 2 other people playing. So even if we all tried to join at the same time, we wouldn't have had enough players. And let's face it, the other 2 are either farming for trading cards or making their own worst Resident Evil games video. The absolute peak for this game was 428 players online at once, and that was for 1 month before dropping right off again. To give you an example of how bad that is, you know the game Bad Rats? That notoriously bad game that everyone and their dog has ripped apart? Well, that horrendous game has a higher peak of players. This has a bigger active player base than a AAA Capcom game. It's not even hard to see why. Basic things like the crawling animation are broken as all hell. Although I'll be honest, I'd be pretty intimidated if a guy came crawling at me with the speed this guy reaches. And why the hell does he hold a handgun like this? I'd tell him to hold the gun properly, but I'm pretty sure he's made himself deaf at this point. Another mechanic that could have been fun if implemented properly is the melee weapon. It shows your attack's range in a cool way, and the animation for it is very dynamic. It's satisfying to kill a zombie like this, but as the attack animation is longer than the zombies one, you almost always end up taking damage while using it. The best way to describe how fun this could have been is looking at the infiltrators in Battlefront 2. The knife is so fast and satisfying to use here, as it either kills the enemy in 3 swipes or knocks them onto the floor. Then you have to wait a second for it to recharge. Just swiping my way across the battlefield is so fun, so if it had something similar in this, it'd be great. But instead, it's essentially rendered useless with how slow it is. I will say that it was useful in online PvP, as it was a one-hit kill if I remember rightly, so sneaking behind someone for a quick kill was fun. Another small annoying thing that I discovered the hard way was that this game doesn't pause. Whilst recording footage, I heard someone at the door and I assumed I'd paused it. Came back to a "You are dead" screen. Thanks! Considering how the online game is deader than my YouTube career, the only thing that's left for you to play is bare bones single player mode. This consists of fairly basic missions such as killing zombies to collect DNA samples and finding briefcases. They're set across different recognisable locations with familiar enemies from each area, but it just makes me wish I was playing those games instead of this. Plus the difficulty spikes wildly. I played this game pretty comfortably up until this level, where you're supposed to complete 3 different missions in a row, and if you die once you have to recomplete it all. That'd be fine if the first 2 missions weren't so easy and tedious. You start with collecting 20 samples, which is easy enough, it's just time consuming killing 20 zombies. Then it hits you with recover 5 briefcases. Because, you know, in Africa you can barely take 2 steps without stepping on lost briefcases. Then you have to defend different areas for a set amount of time. I died immediately to the first overpowered enemy. Guess who has to replay all of that again? It took me 7 minutes to get here. This would be fine if you didn't have to do the 2 easier missions first each time you die in the 3rd mission. No wonder I never got past this level. It's infuriating. Also, this music.
This one's mine.
I like it, but I'm not at a freaking rave. Tone it down a bit. If you see this game on sale on Steam, please don't feel tempted to buy it. Save your money. So these next few games are a bit more obscure and forgotten because they were released on that hit gaming system Nokia. These came out during a period where mobile games were at least actual games instead of child-orientated gambling addiction enablers, but most weren't very good. And the ones that were good you could usually complete in a matter of minutes. So I had a lot of issues getting a hold of these games. There's different versions for different phones, and the sites that claim to have them looked like they'd be able to give me coronavirus along with the usual trojans and ransomware, so I had to settle with what I could get. There's footage on YouTube of better quality versions, but I have no idea where or how to get them, so please enjoy this potato quality gameplay instead. The first one I took a look at was Resident Evil Uprising, and I already hate it. It runs so slowly. Again, there are better versions that run faster, but this one must have been made for the goddamn Nokia 3310. And it seems to try and replicate the Resident Evil formula with zombies and collecting items to solve puzzles, but it's so hard to see what's on screen. Also, I found a key puzzle item in this painting. How was this in this? I'll be honest, I gave up almost immediately as the controls were too slow and I couldn't find the item needed to open the very first door. So, screw it. I'm going to try and forget this game like the rest of the world did. The next one, Resident Evil Degeneration, I'll be honest, I kinda liked. It was released in 2008 to coincide with the Degeneration CG film and is very loosely based on it. And by loosely I mean it takes place in an airport like that one scene, and that's about it. The rest is pretty random considering there's multiple enemies thrown in there that weren't in the movie, like the dogs and the tyrant as a boss level. Hell, I even think I saw a level with me in it weirdly enough. It's very simplistic, but for an old phone game, I think this works well. All you do is shoot zombies as they appear on screen, and if you wait for your aiming reticle to narrow in, your damage will increase. Also, the zombies won't start attacking until the bar above their head is full, so you have to manage keeping all their bars from reach to the top, your ammo, and your aim. So whilst it's simple, it's still enough to be entertaining. The way they try and create missions out of this formula is a bit weird though. There's obvious ones like kill 10 enemies or survive for X amount of time, but then there's ones like find 3 green herbs, where you're just standing there until green herbs float up into your face. Like, what? I think I'd be more terrified of the ghost herbs than anything else. At least the zombies can be explained. I also played this game up until the previously mentioned tyrant boss, who darts all over the screen to avoid being shot and making it much harder to hit him and avoid damage, which provided a bit of challenge that I enjoyed. Honestly, I wouldn't mind playing this game back in the day if I had an N-Gage. Pour a drink out for the poor gaming phones from back in the day. They'll be missed. By very few. There's a handful of other Java games, but oh, would you look at the time? The next game that we wish we'd all forget is Resident Evil Gaiden, the Game Boy Color's attempt at recreating the Resident Evil formula. Now the Game Boy Color was a great console, but it had some serious limitations, so how they thought they could cram this into this is beyond me. So I have every physical Resident Evil game except for this one, because I'm not prepared to start an OnlyFans to afford it. So I'll be using an emulator. This game looks okay. I really don't like this red and orange face that just slid onto my screen, that's for damn sure. But the player's animations like the run cycle looks quite good. And I like how they've achieved the shadow effect, combining a checkered darker background and alternate darkened player sprites whenever you're in the shadows. It looks pretty good. But this is me playing on a very well backlit laptop screen. I can't imagine this looked any good on a lightless Game Boy Color. You'd have to whip out at least 10 of those bad boy worm lights to be able to see anything with all these dark browns and greys. Also, the music is there. The main theme is quite grating after a while, but some of the tracks are an absolute jam, such as the one that plays when the disembodied heads appear. But the thing I don't understand is why the entire track stops every single time you encounter a zombie. The song stops so you can hear a zombie noise, and that'd be fine if there was only a few of them, but there's tons. So every few steps, the music stops and is replaced with a groan. What is this, Brazers? The combat in this game is at least unique. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's good, but it's unique. Each fight is a timing game where you need to line up your line with the bar below the zombie to land a shot, and dead center of it to do bonus damage. It's not bad, It's certainly satisfying to land a decent shot, and I like how the bar shrinks depending on how far away they are to you. And there's the classic puzzle gameplay of finding different keys to open doors. And I really like how they've compensated for the fact that you can't make out things on screen easily by adding an exclamation mark in the corner whenever there's an item nearby. It means you don't have to waste ammo on unnecessary zombies, as it will pop up to let you know if they have anything. Other than that though, there's not much to keep me playing this game. It's quite tedious, and the ammo to zombie ratio doesn't seem very balanced, as I'd always find myself with no ammo. And the music is too grating with its constant interruptions. In summary, it's easy to see why reviews of this thing are less than favourable. So, anything talking about bad Resi games has to mention Resident Evil Survivor, the off-rail light gun shooter game for the PS1. Trust me, it's on everyone's list for worst Resident Evil game. But, I'll be honest, I really enjoyed this one. It was the second Resident Evil game I'd ever played, Resi 4 being the first, and I honestly really enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't like the changes made to it, such as having infinite ammo, but to me that's just a refreshing change of pace. It feels great to not have to worry about ammo for once, and just unload an entire clip into a zombie's body instead of timing every single headshot. Just stop moving your freaking head! It also did first person years before Resident Evil 7, so if anything, it was ahead of its time.
I know that this was no way for anyone to die. What?
Yeah, okay, maybe not. But honestly, I really liked it. And with the slowly opening door loading screens, I remember being on edge as I entered each room, preparing to shoot whatever enemies may be on the other side of that animated door. And I loved the bosses in the game, such as Mr. X and the game's exclusive boss Hypnos T-type. I remember being super stressed playing against this guy with no continues left, knowing that if I died I'd have to start this game again from the start. So yeah, I'm sorry, this game is a happy memory for me, and I have no intentions of forgetting it. Can you imagine this being remade on the Resi 7 engine? If you're a fan of Resident Evil, I'd check this out if you haven't already, and try not to let the negative reviews sway you. There's a decent game here. Right, let's end this with the mixed bag of wet cement known as Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. You play as elite mercenaries for Umbrella Corp and play co-op missions, either online or with that standard terrible AI that most games have. I remember picking this up for the Xbox 360 a few years ago. I also remember not bothering to finish it, so that's not a good start. So, replaying this game from the beginning reminded me of why I stopped playing. It suffers the same major problem that Umbrella Corp has, where a good game concept is spoiled by its execution. The game on paper sounds great. Joining a team of elite operatives to take down enemies from Resi 2 and 3 in non-canon missions? Hell yeah, I want to take down all these bosses again in an action-packed Left 4 Dead clone. Playing the game though, you'll find the controls and gunplay have a lot to be desired. It's not completely terrible, but it doesn't have much weight to it. A lot of the time it doesn't even feel like you're hitting the enemy, as they don't seem to always react to getting shot. Speaking of the enemy, I'm not a big fan of the fact that most of the enemies are soldiers considering it's Resident Evil. I found the sections shooting the zombies far more interesting than finding cover and playing a game of whack-a-mole, waiting for the enemies to pop out before shooting them. Although this is more a personal preference of me not liking cover-based shooters. One thing that is particularly annoying in this game is that the interact button is mapped to the same one that makes you dive to the ground like an American school kid when someone slams their locker. So you find yourself launching yourself at the floor every time you try and pick up a health item or ammo or quickly open the door. It's incredibly frustrating when you're being shot at out in the open and you're sat waiting for him to stand back up because you were 2 pixels further away from the green herb you needed. I also don't like how the sprint works. It locks you into the direction you're going and makes turning worse, instead of just being a faster version of the main control scheme. It's hard to explain without actually playing for yourself, so maybe it doesn't come across how bad this game feels at times. Controls aside though, this game isn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. There's definitely still fun to be had here. I really like the bosses, they're fun and challenging in the right ways, not just struggling with the controls. The locations all look really nice, the lighting's good, and while it's not really the vibe it's going for most of the time, it does pull off a dark and tense atmosphere at times. It even does one of my favourite video game tropes of your enemies fighting each other, like with these soldiers shooting these zombies. I've always loved that. Star Wars Fallen Order and Aliens Colonial Marines are good examples of this. It just helps to cement the world as a real place rather than a video game with enemies waiting in a T-pose for you to enter a specific room to start doing anything. Oh, and guys look! It's Leon! From that one good game! Remember him? Yeah, there's some familiar faces here. Probably to trick people into thinking they like the game, but being that it's not canon, it doesn't have much of an appeal to me. With this game, I wouldn't pick it up at its current Steam price, but it goes on sale for £4.59 during sales, and at CEX it's £4 on Xbox 360. At that price it's probably worth it if you're a fan of either cover-based shooters or Resident Evil. It's certainly not the worst game ever, but it ain't getting a remake treatment anytime soon. So there you have it, the games Capcom would rather you'd forget. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing, liking and commenting. You know, the usual list of stuff people beg for. And I'll hopefully see you in the next video. And thanks again to my channel member Sanchi01 for supporting the channel. See ya!